Hello and welcome. This is Mouse Gunner, and we're back with some more Medieval Engineers, and that means there's a new update. And there's a couple things in this update, and the first thing I'd like to go over is a new block that's been added into the game. Now, to get that new block, all you have to do is go to All Blocks, and you select the rope drum, the rope drum that's been here all the time. But you'll notice a plus symbol, which means it does have some variations, which it is now under my 9 slot in my toolbar, and you can see we have the new variation, which I've already put on this basic catapult, and then we have the old variation. So what is the main difference? And all you have to do is scroll the mouse wheel to go through the two types. What does this new block allow us to do? Well, first off, it has some customizability. You can set up the minimum and maximum length of rope that it will allow for. You can also detach the rope from here, and that's about it for the customizability as far as that goes. But there is one other feature of this that I'd like to show you that you don't even really need to do all that customizability if you don't want. And that is pretty much the feature of why it's called a lockable drum. And we're going to see that feature here in a second. So right now, it is unlocked. Well, first off, we want to need to lock it in. And we see all we need to do is click on this disc that's on the either side of the drum to lock it or unlock it. So this is in the unlock position, and this is in the lock position. So with it in the lock position, we're just going to crank on our well, pull our crank as we normally would, fully to the rear. And now we get to see what this is all about. So if we unlock it, we see that it lets it go forward, but we didn't have to break the rope, so we keep that rope connection. Now you can break the rope as you saw through this menu and hit detach rope if you so choose, or you can go up to the hook on the catapult and detach it manually that way as well. But this allows us to keep that rope attached and just continue to keep firing off the catapult, or if you have an elevator, for instance, allow it to either move or not move depending on what you want to do. So with it not locked in place, if I go ahead and pull on the crank, you'll notice that it spins, but our drum doesn't spin because it's not locked in place. So that's kind of important to understand, is you need to have it locked if you want it to move. Unlocked, it will not move, and it will also let the rope out if you have it well, under some kind of gravity or weight or what have you. When we unlock, it will let forward. In this case, we have the torsion spring that's pulling that rope. So essentially, that's the functionality of this. It's pretty simple, but it's a very important element of more complex machines. So I'm very happy to see it. It will really aid in a lot of the siege engine designs I could see in the future. Now, the second part of this is also very important for siege warfare. So we have this little rounded off kind of construct here, and the main thing that we have is now if we select a tool, which I have a hammer here selected, if we just hit the wall, it's not going to break in one whack. Instead, it has this kind of damaged graphic, and the more we hit, the more it kind of deforms. Now, from what I've seen, it takes quite a lot of whacks to get through a stone wall with a tool, whereas before you could just hit it once and you'd break it. Even with the floor tiles here. Maybe I probably should duck to hit it. Okay, maybe I need to go outside to hit it. Before, when you have the full blocks, you could even break these with one swing, and we see that's still not the case. And we even see this on, for instance, this wood wall. We see the same kind of thing. Now, the wood walls are not nearly as structurally sound, and I will be able to break through this with the tool a little bit more easily than the stone wall. The stone wall, in previous trying this update out, it took quite a while before I broke through. And you see, eventually, I broke through. And then if I continue to swing at this block, it will continue to break apart. I don't have to continue with that deformation kind of graphic at all. It will just crumble. But if I go to a new block that hasn't been broken, we hit it and it continues that process. So you kind of have to, break through these things. So it kind of gives the walls a lot more resilience than they used to have. And to show this a little bit more, I've got a catapult ball set up here, and we're just going to do, a little bit of a 1, 2, 3 count. So 1, 2, 3. holding down our left mouse button, and you see the catapult ball went out. It smacked the wall. We see that kind of deformation. It did a little bit funky because I think it went in between walls. But it didn't break through easily like it would in the past. And we even saw the catapult ball kind of deflect, which it's going to do even more so with these rounded blocks. But again, it deflected away. It didn't just smash through the wall in one hit. Now, if we look at the wooden structure, though, to compare, so 1, 2, 3, we let it go, it smashes through right away. So we can see that the stone walls have a lot more structural integrity than these wooden walls. So it's going to take a lot more thinking as far as your siege weapons go, and maybe a lot more striking before we are going to actually be able to demolish a stone wall with a siege weapon, which gives these more basic walls a lot more resilience. You see I hit it twice in the same spot. It did break, but that gives it a lot more resilience than it used to have, where essentially you'd hit the wall and it would smash right through in the first hit, and it was almost like the walls were paper thin. So this opens up a lot of testing for what the walls can take now that we have these essentially modified damage characteristics for the walls, and we can also demonstrate this on a straight wall. So 1, 2, 3. You see that again, and we see that it bounced off and hit the second wall, so we had actually 2 impacts there. But we see there, even with the straight walls, that it's going to bounce off, and it's also going to not just smash through that wall on the first impact. And these are just the thinner walls. We're not hitting solid blocks like we could be hitting, which we don't have. This is pretty much the only example of a solid wall here. But if we hit it twice in the same spot, again, it doesn't smash, so we see a little bit more structural integrity with these solid blocks. As a matter of fact, we're hitting it quite a few times here, and it's still withstanding these hits. So these walls are quite a bit more durable, and finally, by hitting it in the same spot, I don't know how many times that was, but it was at least, let's say, 6 times, it finally was able to crumble the wall. And I'm going to assume with that initial crumbling, if we hit it again, that it's going to continue to crumble. So once you get past that initial structural integrity kind of point, it just crumbles apart. But you actually have to get to that point, and we see that it takes quite a bit of doing before that happens. So that's a lot of what's been added into this update. Now, it's pretty simple when you look at it in just those 2 things, but in the end, it has a lot of implications of, well, for siege engines in general, the complexity of machines you can make, as well as what is required to be able to smash through defenses now, and what defenses are required to be able to defend ourselves with. It seems like you don't have to build quite as complex of a defensive structure now to survive. So in any case, I hope you guys have enjoyed this look at the most recent update. This is Mouse Gunner, signing out.